Good morning, broadcasters. 360 Seconds News and Commentary for Broadcast Professionals is on the air. I'm Maria Kolarova from TKT. Let's discuss the latest technological news with our respected experts, Philip Grossman and Mary Seidler. Don't forget to give the program a like. CBS Sports will redefine live sports broadcasting at the Super Bowl with 165 cameras, including 4K HDR, Nickified Nickelodeon presentations, and innovative aerial and AR technologies. So, Mary, I know that you were curious about this.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask Philip about this. Over the years, it always seems to me that sports programming really drives new technological innovations. Is that your experience? And what do you think about what they're going to show this year?
Yeah, I think, what's what's noteworthy about this is that this is a giant laboratory every year when they do this because you have, I don't know, it's 30, 40 million, 50 million people. I mean, it's one of the largest watch sporting events in the world now. It's gone global. And
Wow.
so a lot of this technology that gets tested in this environment eventually makes its way into sort of the standards for the NFL and other organizations. What's always interesting is the thought around which technology they choose and decide to use. Is it because it's the wow factor? This is so cool. The engineers want to use it, and the management teams think it's cool. Or do they think, oh, if we do this, this is going to bring more viewership? Because at the end of the day, that's what they really want to do is the more viewers, the more you can charge for advertising. And, you like to jokingly say the only reason that television shows exist is to break up the space between the commercials because commercials really pay for all this. So it's interesting to see what tech gets debuted. The fact that they're doing 165 cameras and the VDR and the HDR and the 4K. I think some of the more interesting stuff, at least for us in our nerdy way in the industry, is the behind the scenes stuff that will be adopted based on what went on here. So this is all going to be 2110. If it's seen as a success, do the rest of the stadiums and live production trucks and stuff adopt that same technology, which no one really sees but helps them produce it versus what they're going to be doing with the technology. The 165 cameras, are they going to give every single angle available? So it really seems to beg the question is it the tail wagging the dog or the other way around? But, being a nerd and a technologist, I'm happy to see any of this stuff get tested and evaluated. So I guess I really shouldn't complain too much, right?
Well, and another question, over the years, do you have any examples of technology that has gone on to really be adopted mainstream and failed technology experiments at the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I think they tend to adopt I'd say cutting edge. I don't think they're ever really bleeding edge. So the adoption of HD was one, and it sort of I think drove it, and especially sports tends to be the one that pushes the envelope a little bit and drives some of the stuff we see in television technology. So we had HD, we have 4K. In fact, the Super Zoom, the original Super Zoom was actually an 8K camera that they could zoom into HD levels and get 4 times zoom. So the tech has been adopted there. But then you have the adoption of some tech that sort of failed, and that's not necessarily because of the NFL or because of the Super Bowl, but just it's not ready for prime time or just really wasn't effective technology like 3D. They did at one time have 3D for the Super Bowl, and everyone thought that's going to be amazing, and 3D just sort of died on the vine. And I don't know if it's just because of the way it's produced. It's very burdensome. You're doubling everything, and the alignment to the cameras. But now we've got some companies like Canon who makes a dual fisheye lens VR tech, and we're seeing obviously Apple has released their Vision Pro. That'll be interesting to see in the next year or two how many other competitors meet that, and are we going to start consuming tech like that? I mean, just think about our phones and our iPads. A big thing was to be able to watch the sporting event on your iPad and then see all this secondary screen information about who the player was and their stats. And so that integration of those things becomes very important. So I'll be interested to see what the final outcome is, whether this is successful. I know all the tech manufacturers will say this was a raving success, whether it was or wasn't, and then we get to sit back and judge.
All right, now moving on, launching an innovative cloud platform, Strata integrates AI to transform media workflows, offering features like multi-cloud syncing, automatic transcription, AI-based tagging, and analysis for filmmakers and content creators worldwide. So Mary, I know that you were curious about this as well.
Yeah, so Philip, I wanted to ask you about this as well. So how does this work? I mean, how does it, not deep tech, but just how do you see them using the AI?
Yeah, so I know Michael, wonderful person, has been involved in a lot of creative companies, and they're really, they're people who are in the industry who are inventing tech to help others in the industry. So I think we still have a pretty long road to go on AI and where it's really going to fit in, but it's to some extent it's reducing, the menial jobs, the jobs that interns used to do, which in and itself can have an effect on what we do in our industry. But it's the first one out of the gate that's got a big name attached to it. So we'll see.
Excellent. And do you see this something that a lot of other companies will start really focusing on?
I think so. I think we'll have the four stages of grief. So we'll figure out in the next 18 to 36 months where that starts to fit into the ecosystem.
All right, that's all the time we have. Many thanks to our experts, Philip and Mary, and don't forget to comment on the news that we've discussed. See you next week at the same time. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.